Happy New Year, everybody! I cannot believe it, but we have made it through yet another year. It is 2018 at the time that this video is going up, the first day of 2018, as a matter of fact. And so I thought, what better way to start off the new year than to round out the last year? So today I'm going to be sharing with you guys all of my favorite books from 2017. So if I'm completely 100% honest with all of you guys, 2018 was a terrible reading year for me. I ended up reading about 51 books last year, and of that 51, there's about 10 that I really liked. I would say the vast majority of my reads were probably 3.5 stars and under, I would say. I don't know. I'll know for sure when I go through and add up all of my statistics from 2017. We'll actually be having that video coming out soon. It'll be a 2017 overview, kind of all my statistics and from my reading last year, but that will come later. But for right now, we're going to focus on the books that I actually did enjoy from 2017. So without further ado, let's get started. Also, these will not be in any particular order, but they will be in the order in which I read them. So I'll be starting with my first 4 to 5 star read of the year and then moving up to the last one. So yes. So my first 4-star read of the year goes to Assassin's Fate by Robin Hobb. This was finishing out her Fitz and the Fool story, The Realm of the Elderlings, though it actually sounds like she will be writing more set in that world, so I'm very excited about that. She's currently writing a new novel right now, which I cannot wait. Can't wait, guys. I need more in this world. But this is the final book rounding out Fitz and the Fool's story and kind of the associated characters that helped them along their journey. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a solid ending to the series. The end was a little bit rushed for my taste, but I still really enjoyed it, and I think the way that it kind of tied everything up for Fitz and the Fool was done really well, and it was kind of satisfying. So it was also just a very fitting end for these two characters. So I ended up rating this book 5 out of 5 stars. My next favorite read from 2017 was The Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. This is the first book in the Monsters of Verity series or duology. I think it might just be 2 books. You would think I would know this, but I don't. The story follows 2 character perspectives, that of Kate Harker and that of August Flynn. August is a monster and Kate is a human. The world that this takes place in is kind of a dystopian future of our own world. There's been some cataclysmic event that has occurred and has created these creatures that everybody calls monsters, and each monster has different abilities and capabilities. And August is one of these, but he doesn't want to be a monster. He just wants to play his music in peace and just basically live his life in peace and be a human, but he's not. And then Kate, of course, has a very checkered past, and her father is one of the ruling kind of, I don't know, gang leaders almost of this world. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really interesting novel. I like that she kind of took some tropes, such as the monster paranormal story, and then added some new twists to it. So I definitely want to pick up book 2. I haven't done so yet, but I do plan to this year, and I ended up rating this one 4 out of 5 stars. My next read was another 4-star read, and this was Hardboiled Wonderland by Haruki Murakami. This is my first book by Haruki Murakami, and I actually really enjoyed it. I just found it to be really interesting. It was definitely weird, but I liked it. It featured a man whose brain is basically a hard drive, and he's sent to like encrypt and decrypt data kind of a thing. And he ends up working for this doctor, and he ends up getting kind of sucked into this idea that you can basically get stuck in your brain almost, but your brain is like projecting this weird like dystopian society upon you, this futuristic society. It was definitely a trippy novel. It was weird. Nobody had names. Everybody was described by like a title almost. It was definitely an interesting book, but I found myself enjoying it. Like, it made you think in a really weird way. So I ended up rating it 4 out of 5 stars. The next 2 books were actually 5-star reads for me, and since I read them months apart, but since they're part of the same series, I'm going to include them, and that was the book 2 and book 3 in the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. This would be Stone Sky and Obelisk Gate. Really, really enjoyed this trilogy. It's like a fantasy sci-fi story. It's kind of both because it melds both magic and science fiction, and I really, really liked it. The twists at the end were just amazing. There was just so many ideas presented in this trilogy that got you thinking. They really made you think a lot about racism and bigotry and slavery, as well as just human nature and how people deal with extreme stress and extreme conditions that they're living under. And I just found it to be a really, really fascinating novel. I've liked all the revelations, and I cannot wait to read more from N.K. Jemisin this year. My next favorite book was the last book of the Great Coast series, which was Tyrants by Sebastian de Castell. I loved this book. It was so much fun, and I'm so sad that the Great Coats are gone. It sounds like he might one day go back to these characters and write some more books surrounding them, and I hope he does, because I need some more Falchio, Brasti, and Kest in my life. This was such an enjoyable series. I thought it was a solid ending to this quartet, and I definitely look forward to reading more from Sebastian de Castell. I actually have the first book in his new Spellsinger series, which I'm quite looking forward to. So this one I ended up rating 4.5 4.5 out of 5 stars. My next favorite book was actually a nonfiction book, and it was Madam President, The Extraordinary Journey of Ellen Sirleaf. Ellen Sirleaf was the president of Liberia until now. They just elected the new president, and it just kind of, it was a biography about her life and how she got to the point where she was, how she tried to work to make Liberia a better and safer place, specifically for women. And it was just an interesting novel. I really had a lot of fun reading it and learning a lot about Liberia, which is a country I didn't know a lot about. So I definitely learned a lot while reading this novel, and I really enjoyed it. Plus, kind of following this most recent election, after having the context of what happened before, was quite fascinating as well. So this one I ended up rating 4.5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I really enjoyed was Of Blood and Honey by Stina Light. This was a book that took place in Ireland, Northern Ireland, during the Troubles, and it basically features a conflict between the Fae, demons, and the people who resided in Northern Ireland during the time of the Troubles. It was a really, really fascinating novel. I liked seeing kind of the historical context of the Troubles taking place against the backdrop of this war between demons and the Fae and basically demon hunters. It was an enjoyable book that I definitely look forward to getting to book 2. I actually have it on my shelf. I meant to read it last year and never got to it, and I'm going to be rectifying that soon. So this one I ended up rating 4 out of 5 stars. My next 5-star read was The Witches of Litchford by Paul Cornell. This is the first book in his kind of novella trilogy. Yes, I think it's 3 books, might be 4. Now I can't remember. But I really enjoyed it. It takes place in a small English town, and it follows these 3 women who are the witches of Litchford. And basically they're protecting all the people who reside in this town, and these people don't realize this, from the forces that want to do this town evil. Because they're kind of like on a line between like the Fae world and then the human world, but there are bad things that can cross over into the world and like just different things. And these 3 kind of work behind the scenes to like keep everybody safe. And this book actually shows Autumn and Lizzie kind of coming into their powers as witches and protectors of this town, and I really enjoyed it. I still need to read book 2. I meant to do it this Christmas because it actually takes place at Christmas time, and it didn't happen, so I'm hoping it will happen early January, since I consider January an extension of Christmas. That's just how I roll. But I really enjoyed this one, and I ended up rating it 5 out of 5 stars. My next 5-star read, which was probably one of my all-time favorite books from this past year, was Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. I am actually lending this book out, so I just have the dust jacket at the moment. But this is the first book in the Dandelion Empire series or trilogy. I think it's going to be a trilogy. But I really, really enjoyed it so much. It is like, it reminds me, it's Game of Thrones-esque in the fact that you have a bunch of different factions fighting for power, but it also kind of reads like a medieval epic, which I really enjoyed. There's a lot of heroic deeds, and then you also have the gods in the background kind of influencing things. You have these little scenes that you cut to of the gods talking to each other and kind of fighting behind the scenes and how they're influencing the humans. But the story basically follows Mata and Kuni, who are fighting against the Empire together as part of a band of rebels. But alas, the dichotomy between Mata and Kuni's worldviews ends up kind of putting them at loggerheads with each other. And that's kind of where the story starts to take off, as you kind of see both of them fighting to create the world that they both feel would benefit the people. And it was definitely a really, really, really good book. I really enjoyed it. The world that he created was just so vivid, and I loved all of the characters and seeing how everybody kind of interlocked with each other and everybody's different opinions and how everybody was in conflict and how not everybody was really a good person. Everybody was kind of gray and morally ambiguous, and I just enjoyed it immensely. So I gave this one, hands down, 5 out of 5 stars. I'm going to be picking up book 2 soon because I need to continue on with this world. I need to know what's going to happen, and it's going to be great. And I've heard book 2 blows this one out of the water, and so I'm very much looking forward to seeing that for myself. And my final favorite read from this year is one that I finished a couple of days ago, and it was Charles Dickens' A Very Peculiar History. My lovely friend Dustin actually sent me this for Christmas, and I read it. I ate it up. It was so much fun to read. It's basically a biography of Charles Dickens, but it's written in a kind of a fun way. And the font in the book and the different illustrations and pictures, it just made it kind of really fun and interesting to read. It was definitely a quick one to read, but it basically just gave a breakdown on his life and the things that influenced him and why he did things the way he did, and kind of who he was as a person. Terrible husband, by the way, which sadly does not surprise me. And also broke down all of his works and when he wrote them and what he was kind of exploring in the works that he wrote. And yeah, I just found it to be a really fascinating novel. It was fun, and it's just kind of interesting reading biographies of famous literary authors. So yes, I very much enjoyed this one, so thank you, Dustin. And I ended up rating this one 4.5 out of 5 stars. All right, guys, those are all of my top reads from 2017. It wasn't my best reading year, but I definitely had some true gems mixed in with a lot of the rocks that were the rest of my books. I'm hoping that 2018 will be a much better reading year, but time will tell. All right, guys, that is it for my 2017 favorite reads video. You'll have to let me know if you've read any of these and if you enjoyed them or what your favorite read was from 2017, because it might give me a good recommendation of what I should read in 2018. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a lovely day. Until next time, happy reading. Bye!